guess the big question is, who is going to face Douglas the Phenom Lima in the final of the Welterweight Grandprix with Bellator? Well, let's talk about it. Bellator 222 is this Friday coming up, and it is the last semi-final of the Welterweight Grand Prix tournament, with the headline that we'll get to just a second from now. But the co-main event is a very, very intriguing fight. It was a fight that was years in the making. We have two previous UFC vets, one previous light heavyweight champ, and of course the other being a middleweight title contender. We got Chael Sonnen, the contender, against Lyoto the Dragon Machida, previous champion. Now, styles make fights, and these guys have two completely, utterly different styles, where Chael Sonnen is one of those pressured fighters that likes to close the distance and use his grappling to take you down and just wear and tear you for the full 3 or 5 minute rounds, whatever it may be, but in this case it's going to be 3. And we have the Dragon Lyoto Machida, who likes to keep his distance and wait for his opponent to engage and then catch you with a counter strike. Does that look familiar? Yeah, that's what I thought. Now let's just talk about Chael Sonnen for a second. 2 in his last 4 fights, all under the Bellator banner, and fighting all previous champions. He came in and lost to Tito Ortiz right away, but then he went back-to-back with wins over Wanderlei Silva and Rampage Jackson. Side note, one of the worst fights you've ever seen? Me too. And then he came back and got pulverized in the heavyweight Grand Prix by Fedor Emelianenko, the last emperor. Chael Sonnen, what were you thinking? But Chael has talked his way into another big fight for his resume, and that's going to be against Dragon. But Dragon, unlike the last couple of boring fights that Chael Sonnen has, Lyoto hasn't really looked that way. His last fight was under the Bellator banner, and the only one that he has thus far, against Rafael Carvalho Jr., and he took it via split decision. Very controversial to some, but nonetheless, it was an exciting back and forth fight. Do I think he did enough to win? Not necessarily, but nonetheless, it was still exciting. And of course, before that, if anyone can remember that devastating front kick knockout to Vitor Belfort, he just seems to be the target for front kick knockouts. No thanks to you, Steven Seagal. Don't even go there. But obviously, the keys to victory for this fight are plain as day. It's very simple. Chael Sonnen wants to close the distance, doesn't want to stand and do a striking match against a karate guru and a previous champion who is known for his counter-strike knockout ability. He wants to close the distance to minimize those techniques that Lyoto Machida has and hopefully get it against the cage and take it to the ground and pound him. But he's not the Chael of the old. He doesn't have that endurance and stamina to maintain that kind of tenacity. So I do think that if he does get Lyoto Machida down in the first round, Lyoto's going to be strong enough to pop back up. Even if not by the end of the first round, then the second round he's going to start back up his feet, and Chael is not going to be able to reproduce what he did in the first if it does in fact go that way. Lyoto Machida's keys to victory here is very simple. Change this into a karate match. Use your distance, your length, your size advantage, and keep it at bay. Don't let Chael Sonnen have any fun in this fight whatsoever. Keep the distance and get ready to launch that front kick right into the chin of Chael the loudmouth Sonnen, because chances are after that front kick reaches his chin, he's not going to be too much of a loudmouth because he won't be able to talk. So if I'm going to have to call this fight, I'm definitely calling Lyoto Machida is winning this fight. I'm just going to throw it in there and say the first round once again. It could be a very boring few first couple of minutes, so just stay tight with me, fans. But nonetheless, I think that big knockout blow is coming to Chael Sonnen. So I think Lyoto Machida's got this first round knockout. Now when we go to the main event, we are talking about the final, semi-final of the Welterweight Grand Prix. And if you understand what I just said, kudos to you, because I don't even understand what the hell I just said to you, because it was definitely a tongue twister. It is the last of the semi-final rounds in the Welterweight Grand Prix. The winner of this gets to step up and fight Phenom Lima and lose to him, because that's what's going to happen. But we have Rory, the Blood King, the Red King, whatever you want to call him, MacDonald. He is going up against Neiman Gracie. Now, I know I said Rory MacDonald first, and I usually leave the champion or the favorite fighter last, and that's fine because the welterweight champion right now is Rory MacDonald. But in my opinion, his last fight coming off of the draw against John Fitch, very controversial in my opinion, doesn't really grant him that champion status, doesn't really grant him to retain that belt and go into the next round as a champion. They should have ran that John Fitch fight back. But also, Rory MacDonald used to be a killer, obviously going up against these big names like Robbie Lawler, who can forget those 2 wars. He's fought huge names his whole career. When he came over to the Bellator as well, he was still fed to the wolves, which he definitely took advantage of when he beat Phenom Lima. Do I agree with the decision? Absolutely not. But nonetheless, it was a decision that was in his favor. But after his lost draw against John Fitch, he pretty much told everybody that he is not Rory MacDonald anymore. He doesn't even want to fight. He doesn't have the hunger. He doesn't have the passion. And I think, to me, that was just paving his way of why he has no confidence that he is going to win this fight. Which is why I think Neiman Gracie might have a lot more fun than I would previously if Rory never opened his mouth to begin with. But Neiman Gracie, obviously coming from the inevitable family that pretty much started all of MMA, we're talking about the Gracie family. Neiman Gracie is 9-0. 8 of those 9 victories coming via nasty submission. Now, while he hasn't really faced the main who's who, this is going to be his first test. And Gracies are no slouches, are no newbies to when it comes to these big tests. This is the opportunity that Neiman is waiting for. And let's just mention that Neiman is also thinking the same thing that everybody else is, and that's Rory doesn't have it anymore. Not just because of necessarily what he said, but you could tell his killer instinct wasn't there. And Rory, in my opinion, was one of the best wrestlers at 170, and he got manhandled by John Fitch, which in my opinion should have never have happened. I think obviously the keys to victory here for Neiman Gracie is we are going to take this right to the ground. Neiman Gracie is not a heavy hitter, but what he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a world champion. So you have to take it to where you are strongest. Now, Rory MacDonald, although he is a good wrestler and tenacious on the ground, I think this is going to be that fight where you do have to basically keep that distance and keep it on the feet. You didn't seem as confident as I would have liked to see from you in your last outing with your wrestling, so I think we should refrain from making this a ground fight and keep standing up. You probably have a better chin than Neiman Gracie, and you definitely have better hands, footwork, and kicks than Neiman Gracie as well. So what better way to guarantee this, to solidify it, than sticking to your game plan and not falling into the trap of the illustrious Gracie. If I'm going to say who wins this fight, before the John Fitch fight, I would have said Rory has this fight, no question. He's going to run through Neiman Gracie, because I always think that the most impressive wrestler will beat the most impressive jiu-jitsu expert 9 times out of 10. Especially in an MMA round where time is a factor. There's no, you're running at the clock and waiting for the wrestler to get tired. There is a time limit here. But back in the days of Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie, where there was no time, jiu-jitsu would prevail, because jiu-jitsu knew how to keep themselves safe from any damage that the wrestler has to bring, tire the wrestler out, and inevitably slip in that submission attempt and finalizing it. But this is not the case now with 5-minute rounds. It is not a lot of time for a jiu-jitsu practitioner to work his magic, especially with somebody, at least somebody who used to be tenacious like Rory. But I think Rory has basically paved the end of his career by his last speech and letting everybody know that he doesn't have what it takes. And I think Neiman Gracie now is going to be able to pull this off. And I'm going to call a 3rd round submission. I just think Rory's going to tire himself out, get very frustrated, and of course slip up and make a mistake and fall into one of the Gracie traps, losing the belt and losing his spot in the finals, and inevitably just hanging up his gloves, because you can tell he kind of wants to do that anyways. I hope you enjoy this fight. I am very excited to see who meets my favorite 170er in Bellator, possibly the world, in Douglas the Phenom Lima, in the finals of the Welterweight Grandprix. I cannot wait to watch it. I hope you cannot wait to watch it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a dislike, doesn't matter to me. Leave a comment below, either positive or negative, doesn't matter. Do you agree? Do you not? Let me know, or else guess what? I'm just going to assume y'all agree with me. Why wouldn't you? I'm dope. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day, and we are going to see you on Friday for the fights. Peace out.